Mark Zuckerberg goes on his little video thing on Facebook wearing a $900,000 watch, by the way. Or maybe it was $800,000, but apparently he has quite the collection of these things. Incredible. This guy owns 1/50th, 2% of all the millennial wealth in America, according to some estimates. Every millennial in America, you add up all their wealth, Mark Zuckerberg owns 1/50th of it. It evokes that old image of, the guy with the big pile of cookies and everybody else has one. Anyway, so they announced that they're going to be dialing back on fact-checking. They're also going to start promoting political content with their algorithm, or at least stop suppressing it. And they're no longer going to filter out trash-talking women. In fact, specifically, referring to women as household appliances is now okay on Facebook. They're no longer going to filter out trash-talking queer people, and they're no longer going to filter out trash-talking immigrants. And they're moving what's left of their trust and security team from liberal California to conservative Texas. Now, here's the problem. And this is something that the mainstream media absolutely refuses to talk about. But in order to win elections and in order to pass legislation, ever since the era of Reagan, ever since the Reagan Revolution, the Republican Party has by and large relied on lies, actual lies. Remember Reagan telling us that busting unions would raise wages? It was a lie. He knew it was a lie. He used to be a union president. Remember Reagan telling us that if we cut taxes on billionaires, it would cause average people to see an increase in their paychecks because the job creators would want to pay you more? It was a lie. He knew it was a lie. We tried this back in the 1920s with the horse and sparrow theory. It didn't work then. In the Harding and Coolidge administrations and the Hoover administration. In fact, it brought us the Roaring '20s and the Great Depression. The second Gilded Age. Well, arguably this is the second Gilded. I'd say this is the third. But anyway. The GOP relies on lies, and the Democratic Party does not. Now, I have my complaints and my problems with the Democratic Party. I'm, sure all of us do, and most of them focus on, how the wise elders of the party decided that Hillary Clinton would be the better candidate than Bernie Sanders, basically a couple times in a row. But that's not basing your policies or your electoral policy on lies. That's an internal party thing. I'm talking about the people who go on the Sunday shows. I mean, have you ever seen a Democratic politician go on a Sunday show or be quoted in the New York Times or the Washington Post or anywhere else and just nakedly lie? I looked this up. I mean, and the reason I'm sharing this with you and the reason I'm putting in this context is because Facebook is now going to allow lies. And they're not even going to try to suppress them. They're going to do community notes like X does, which means that if you've got a majority of liars on your platform or people who agree with the lies, then the lies will stand, right? I mean, it's just how it works. So I did a search for Democratic lies and Republican lies using two different AI programs, Perplexity and ChatGPT, Google and DuckDuckGo yesterday afternoon. And these lies that Democrats tell according to these search engines, that only the rich will pay more taxes under proposed policies, that a transition to green energy won't cost any jobs, that sanctuary cities reduce crime rates universally, that social media platforms primarily suppress left-wing voices. I don't think that's a lie, but that Trump's Project 2025 wasn't actually Trump's project. That expanding federal funding for education guarantees improved student outcomes, and that Kamala Harris falsely claimed that Trump encouraged Putin to invade U.S. allies, which is weird because, well, whatever. None of those are really lies of any consequence. I mean, I'm not even sure that they're lies. They're and none of those are the kind of things where you can ask just any random Democrat, and they'll all say the same thing on television or anywhere else. On the other hand, when I asked those same sources for Republican lies, I got a list of over 50 that were all fairly solid. I mean, here's just a few. The 2020 election was stolen. Global warming isn't real or important. Giving tax cuts to billionaires helps average working people. Biden opened our southern border for 4 years. Democrats encourage illegal immigrants to vote. Social Security is a Ponzi scheme that's been going broke. It can only be fixed by cutting benefits. A national health care system won't work in America. Free or inexpensive college doesn't benefit a nation, but student debt builds individual responsibility. The Democratic Party is filled with sexual monsters who drink children's blood. Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Afghanistan was responsible for 9/11. The United States was founded as a Christian nation, and the founding fathers intended it to have biblical law. Critical race theory is being taught in elementary schools to make white children feel guilty. I mean, these are all actual, real, 100% false lies. Cutting corporate taxes leads to higher wages for workers. Climate change policies are an attack on the economy and personal freedom. Gun control laws lead to higher crime rates. They are unreliable. It will destroy the energy grid. LGBTQ rights threaten religious freedom and the safety of children. Voter fraud is a widespread problem in America. Democrats want to abolish the police and create lawless anarchy zones. Universal basic income or expanded welfare programs discourage hard work. Raising the minimum wage will destroy small businesses. Public schools are indoctrinating children with Marxist and homosexual ideologies. The Affordable Care Act caused massive job losses and economic crisis. Immigration is the main cause of crime and drug trafficking in the U.S. January 6th was a peaceful protest. Unions are corrupt and hurt workers more than they help. I mean, I could go on. There's another 20 on this list here. You can read it over at HartmannReport.com. Black immigrants are eating white people's dogs and cats, for example. All of these are actual, real lies. The Republican Party has to tell lies, because if they came out and said that, well, yeah, our real agenda is to increase pollution, cut taxes on billionaires, gut worker and consumer protections, defund schools and medical care, privatize and cut Social Security and Medicare, and subsidize oil companies, and came out and said that that's their real agenda, nobody would vote for them. So you've got, I mean, this is just asymmetrical warfare. You've got a Democratic Party that occasionally exaggerates and certainly has problems, with communication and within the party. But you've got a Democratic Party that by and large is committed to telling voters the truth. And you've got a Republican Party that literally can't tell voters the truth, that must lie at every opportunity. And now you've got the two largest social media platforms in the world, X and Meta, or X and Facebook. And Facebook owns 4, Meta owns 4, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, and whatever the other one is. And they're all going to allow more lies. And everybody's treating that like, oh, gee, isn't that's not a good thing that they're going to allow more lies, but so what? And I'm telling you, the so what is that they're handing Democrats a slingshot, and they're giving, which Democrats would prefer not to use, and they're giving Republicans a loaded gun to go after our democracy. That's what's happening here. And Mark Zuckerberg did this, apparently, according to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, wrote in his little coffee table book that he was selling last year as a Christmas gift, that if Mark Zuckerberg betrays him, he will spend the rest of his life in prison. And when Trump was asked yesterday during his press conference, is that why, did Zuckerberg do this because he's afraid of you? Trump said probably. I mean, in a nation where one political party routinely lies and the other is generally committed to telling the truth, who benefits when political lies are being made more widely available? I mean, the outcome of this is that lies as a political strategy, which the GOP has been using since the 80s, erodes truth, erodes accountability in public discourse, creates fertile ground for authoritarian politicians, undermines democratic processes, and fuels political polarization. Back in the 70s and 80s, before Reagan started the GOP as the official party of liars, more than 80% of people trusted our government. Today, it's in the 20s. Fewer than 25% of Americans trust the government. I mean, we've just seen a complete collapse in trust in our democracy. Why? Because one of our two major political parties, funded by right-wing billionaires, by the way, dedicated to serving the interests of right-wing billionaires in the fossil fuel industry and other big polluting industries, have adopted lies as their practical, perpetual, regular, predictable, go-to political strategy. And so, of course, when half of the entire political spectrum in America is regularly lying to people, people are starting to get skeptical, cynical. They don't participate in elections anymore. I mean, this is really destructive stuff. And I think, Facebook doing this, X doing it, I think this is a tragedy for America.